Welcome back to the Deep Dive. It is so good to have you with us. Today, we have this massive stack of articles, biographical data, career retrospectives, and we are focusing on a figure who has, he's basically become the face of a very specific kind of modern American anxiety.
That's a heavy way to start, but you are not wrong at all. It's a very specific vibe.
I mean it. You've seen him. I'm sure everyone listening has seen him. He's the guy in the beige trench coat.
Yep.
He's usually standing in like a parking lot or outside a convention center or right in the middle of a political rally. He's holding that microphone, with the Comedy Central logo on it.
And he's just surrounded by complete and utter chaos.
Absolute chaos. People are shouting, flags waving everywhere. Conspiracy theories are just like flying through the air like confetti.
And in the middle of all of that noise, he is just standing there, completely calm.
Precisely. He's the calm in the eye of the storm. And we are talking, of course, about Jordan Klepper.
It is a fascinating choice for a deep dive. Most people know him as that man-on-the-street guy from The Daily Show, specifically from the Fingers the Pulse segments, where he interviews Trump supporters or anti-vaxxers or just people on the fringes of the political spectrum.
Yeah, he's the guy who just nods politely while someone explains that JFK Jr. is secretly running the government from, like, a moon base.
Exactly that guy.
Exactly. But here's the thing. And this is really why we wanted to do this a Pacific Deep Dive today. When you watch those clips, what you're seeing is the finished product. You see the quick wit, the fast comebacks, the satire. But you don't see the engine under the hood. When you send over this stack of sources, and we have a lot to get through today, it's mostly a huge biographical profile, I realize that the trench coat guy is he's a character.
Or maybe not even a character, but just one facet of a much more complex machine.
Yeah. Because the man under that coat has a resume that makes absolutely no sense until you really, really look at it.
It is a resume just full of contradictions, for sure. It's not your standard, class clown drops out of school and moves to Hollywood kind of story.
Not even close. I went into this thinking we'd just be talking about some funny interview clips, but instead we are going to uncover a background that involves, like, advanced mathematics.
Correct.
It involves a national championship in mock trial.
A crucial detail. We have to get into that.
And it involves this bizarre 6 degrees of separation connection to the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
That one is still hard for me to believe, but the data is there. It's confirmed.
It's wild. And it involves a career trajectory that is, it's a masterclass in resilience.
Yeah.
So here's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack how a math geek from Kalamazoo, Michigan, became one of the sharpest, most effective satirical voices in modern media.
Right.
We want to understand the mechanics of his career, how he went from improv classes to hosting his own show, losing that show, and then completely reinventing himself.
And we really want to see what this specific mix of logic, theater, and, frankly, journalism tells us about the state of comedy today. Like, is he a comedian? Is he a reporter? Is he a lawyer?
Or is he something entirely new that this current media landscape just sort of created?
Exactly.
Let's find out. We have to start at the very, very beginning, the origin story. So we're traveling to the Midwest.
Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Jordan Klepper was born on March 9, 1979 in Kalamazoo. As of today, early 2026, that makes him 46 years old.
Which places him right on that cusp, between Gen X and Millennial. We often call that the Oregon Trail generation. He grew up in a totally analog world, riding bikes, no cell phones, but he entered adulthood right as the internet and the digital revolution were taking over.
And why is that relevant to his comedy, do you think?
Well, for a satirist, context is everything. He remembers a time before the 24-hour news cycle completely destroyed our collective attention span.
Right.
He remembers a time before social media algorithms were dictating political discourse. So that allows him to look at the current chaos with a little bit of distance. He knows it wasn't always this way.
That's a great point. He has a baseline for normal. Now, the source material notes he is primarily of Dutch ancestry.
Which, if you know anything about Western Michigan, that tracks perfectly. That whole area, Grand Rapids, Holland, Kalamazoo, it has a massive Dutch-American population. It's a very specific culture.
But let's get to the parents. His mom, Betsy, was a secretary at a high school, Loin Norix High School, to be exact.
Yeah.
And his dad's name is Mark. Now, usually, this is the boring part of the bio, right? Mom and dad met, fell in love, had a kid. But getting to how Betsy and Mark met, this brings us to that aha moment I teased in the intro.
This is a detail that really just highlights how small the world can be
Yeah.
and how incredibly random existence is.
Okay, so according to the records, Betsy and Mark were introduced by Betsy's cousin.
Correct.
And who was that cousin?
That cousin was a young, aspiring comedian and actor named Tim Allen.
Tim Allen.
Hmm.
Tim the Toolman Taylor, the voice of Buzz Lightyear, the Santa Claus. That Tim Allen.
The very same, but it wasn't just like a casual, hey, meet my friend thing at a family barbecue. Tim Allen was actually Mark Klepper's roommate at Western Michigan University.
I cannot get over this. I really can't. So let's just play this out. Let's do the sliding doors moment here. If Tim Allen decides he doesn't want a roommate,
Yeah.
or if he decides to live off campus with some other guy named Steve, Mark never meets Betsy.
And Jordan Klepper is never born.
It is the butterfly effect in action.
Yeah.
I mean, without Tim Allen, The Daily Show looks completely different today. Without the star of Home Improvement, we don't get the guy who so brilliantly roasted the insurrectionists.
It's a foundational variable. It's so strange to think about. But the lineage of this very specific brand of political comedy owes a direct biological debt to Tim Allen.
Does Tim Allen know this? I mean, obviously he knows he introduced them, but does he realize he is responsible for the guy roasting politicians on Comedy Central?
You have to imagine it makes for a pretty interesting Thanksgiving dinner conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, pass the turkey, and thanks for creating my existence, Cousin Tim.
It's just such a weird, specifically Michigan celebrity connection. But okay, let's move from the parents to Jordan himself. He grows up in Kalamazoo. He attends Kalamazoo Central High School, but he also attends the Kalamazoo Area Mathematics and Science Center.
Okay, and this is a really significant detail that we shouldn't just gloss over. The Kalamazoo Area Mathematics and Science Center, or KMSC, it isn't just a standard high school track.
No.
No, it's a specialized, accelerated program for gifted students. You have to test into it. It's a big deal.
So this was not a kid just goofing off in the back of the class making fart noises.
No, not at all. This indicates a very high level of academic aptitude, specifically in STEM, right from the beginning. He was a smart kid.
He was clearly disciplined, too. He's a tennis player, so there's the athletic side, which requires focus, agility, solo accountability. But the thing that really jumped out at me, especially considering his future career, is that he was a member of the mock trial team.
Mock trial.
And they didn't just participate. The source says his team won nationals. They were the best in the entire country.
I want to pause on this because I think this is the skeleton key to his entire career. If you want to understand Jordan Klepper, you have to understand mock trial.
Okay, break it down for us. Why is that experience so critical?
Well, think about what mock trial is, fundamentally. It's the sport of structured argumentation.
Right.
You're given a case, file facts, witness statements, evidence. You have to understand the rules of evidence. You have to listen intently to what the witness is saying. And most importantly, you have to find the logical inconsistencies in their testimony to win the case.
Oh, totally. I did debate in high school, which is similar, but mock trial is performative. You're playing a lawyer. You're playing a role. You have to wear the suit. You have to project authority.
Exactly. It is acting combined with pure logic. And if you fast forward to his career on The Daily Show, what is he doing in those field pieces?
He's cross-examining people.
He is essentially cross-examining people in a parking lot. He's using the Socratic method. He lets people talk. He listens. He really listens for the flaw in their logic. And then, just like a lawyer in a courtroom, he asks that one follow-up question that just exposes the entire flaw.
Like, so you say you love the Constitution? Yes.
Yeah.
Have you? Have you read the Constitution? No. Interesting.
Precisely. That rhythm setup, testimony, contradiction, reveal, that is the rhythm of a mock trial cross-examination. That skill set wasn't learned in some comedy club in Chicago. It was refined in a high school courtroom in Kalamazoo.
That's such a good point. He's not just cracking jokes, he's building a case. And he's been doing it since he was, what, a teenager? It explains why he is so quick on his feet. He's already anticipated the objection.
He is 3 steps ahead of the person he's interviewing. And winning nationals means he was exceptionally good at it. He understands the mechanics of argumentation better than the people he is arguing with.
So he finishes high school, a national champion, and he stays local for college. He goes to Kalamazoo College.
And he didn't just go, he went on a full ride. The source specifies he received the Frederick W. Hale and Elsie L. Hale Science Scholarship Fund. That's a full tuition scholarship, which is prestigious. It means he earned his way in with his brains, specifically his aptitude for science and math.
Okay, so he's smart, we get it. But here is where the polymath title really comes in. We talked about this in the intro. He didn't major in political science. He didn't major in communications. He double majored in math and theater.
A dual brain, a total split brain thing.
Talk to me about that combination. Why does that matter? Why math?
Well, often we think of these as like opposing disciplines, right? Math is about patterns, logic, definitive answers, structure. It's binary. It's either right or it's wrong.
Yeah.
Theater is all about emotion, timing, human connection, fluidity. It's subjective.
Yeah.
By double majoring, Klepper was essentially training both sides of his brain to work in perfect unison.
So comedy becomes an equation.
In a way, yes. Comedy, especially the kind of satire Klepper does, it relies so heavily on rhythm and pattern recognition. You set up an expectation, right, the pattern, and then you break it, the punchline. Having a background in advanced mathematics likely gives him this unique ability to deconstruct really complex topics and find the structural absurdity within them. He's analyzing the data of the world, but through a theatrical lens.
It explains so much about his style. It's so precise. It never feels messy. When he delivers a line, it lands exactly where it needs to. It's efficient.
It's calculated in the best possible way. He's looking for the one variable that doesn't fit the equation.
He graduated in 2001 with his math theater degree. He also spent some time studying abroad in London, which adds a little international flair. But before we leave his college years, we have to talk about another celebrity connection.
Oh, yeah.
We already had Tim Allen. Now we have Stephen Yeun.
This is one of my favorite details in the research. It's a massive whoa moment.
So, Stephen Yeun, famous for playing Glenn in The Walking Dead, an Oscar nominee for Minari. I mean, a massive Hollywood star.
Yeah.
He was also at Kalamazoo College.
He was. And at this time, Yeun hadn't really committed to acting. He was just a college kid, majoring in psychology with a concentration in neuroscience. He was not on the Hollywood track.
So how do they connect?
The source says that Jordan Klepper's sister was at Kalamazoo College as well, and she befriended this aspiring but unsure actor named Stephen Yeun.
Okay.
And she took Stephen Yeun to see her brother, Jordan, perform an improv show at the college.
And what happened?
That show, Jordan Klepper's performance, was the catalyst. The source says it inspired Stephen Yeun to attend his very first acting class.
That is wild.
It is. It's incredible.
So let's trace this chain again. First, Tim Allen causes Jordan Klepper to exist.
Right.
Then Jordan Klepper performs an improv show that causes Stephen Yeun's entire acting career to exist.
It's a ripple effect. It really speaks to the quality of performance Klepper must have had even back then. Improv can be, well, let's be honest, it can be painful to watch if it's bad.
Oh, absolutely. Bad college improv is one of the most uncomfortable experiences on earth.
Yeah.
It's usually just a bunch of people shouting and trying way too hard.
But if it's good enough to inspire someone like Stephen Yeun to change his whole life trajectory, to say, I want to do that, he must have been absolutely electric on stage. He must have been doing something that looked like magic.
It's a testament to his talent way before he was famous. The Kalamazoo College alumni newsletter must just be insane. Updates. Jordan is roasting politicians. Stephen is fighting zombies.
It really was a fertile ground for talent, apparently. Who knew?
So she graduates in 2001. He's got the degrees. He's inspired future stars. Now he needs a job. He moves to Chicago.
The natural next step, if you want to do comedy, especially improv and sketch, and you're in the Midwest, you go to Chicago. It's like the graduate school of comedy.
He joins the Second City, which, for our listeners who might not know, is the institution.
It is the legendary training ground. It produced Bill Murray, Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, Chris Farley. I mean, the list is endless.
What do you learn there? What's the philosophy?
You learn to work as an ensemble. You learn the rule of yes and accepting the reality your partner creates and then adding to it. But more than that, Second City is about satire. It has this long, rich tradition of social and political commentary. It's not just funny voices, it's what is happening in the world and how do we make fun of it.
But he wasn't just doing highbrow theater or, late-night sketch shows. The source mentions a gig that I found hilarious. He worked for the Big Ten Network.
Right, on a show called Big Ten Friday Night Tailgate.
Big Ten Friday Night Tailgate. I'm just picturing this math theater genius, probably wearing a polo shirt, trying to hype up football fans at a parking lot in Columbus or Ann Arbor.
But again, think about the training. It's host work. It's working a crowd. And it's dealing with unpredictable elements.
Drunk fans, bad weather, loud noises, people who do not want to talk to you.
Exactly. It's so different from a controlled theater environment where everyone is seated and polite. This experience of tailgate comedy actually bridges the gap between the stage and his future field pieces. He learned how to be funny in a chaotic, unscripted environment.
That's a great insight. A political rally is basically just an angry tailgate.
It really is. It's a group of people wearing matching colors, chanting slogans, and fueled by emotion and beverages. He learned how to navigate that energy holding a microphone for the Big Ten network. He learned how to project, how to pivot when something goes wrong, and how to keep a smile on his face even when things get rowdy.
So he cuts his teeth in the parking lots of the Midwest. He does the Chicago grind for a while. Then, in 2011, he makes the move to New York City. This is the classic comedian path, right? Chicago for training, New York for the career.
He joins the Upright Citizens Brigade, or UCB, which is the other major pillar of American improv comedy. Founded by Amy Poehler, Matt Besser, Ian Roberts, Matt Walsh, it's generally faster, scrappier than Second City. It emphasizes the game of the scene.
And this is also where his personal life intersects with his professional life. He met his future wife, Laura Gray, through this whole improv circuit, both at Second City and UCB.
Then they weren't just dating, they were creative partners. The source lists the bunch of short films they made together. They wrote, directed, produced, and starred in them.
Collaboration is such a huge part of the comedy world. Creating your own content is often how you get noticed. You can't just sit there and wait for the phone to ring.
Exactly. You have to show them what you can do. And working with a partner, especially a partner you are in a relationship with, requires a very high level of trust and communication.
I have to mention the titles of these short films because they are delightful. We have Bone Dry, Ex-Girlfriends, and one titled Poop Brunch.
Poop Brunch.
I have no idea what it's about. I am almost scared to ask. But the title alone tells me they were having fun.
It tells me they were fearless. They weren't trying to be important. They were trying to be funny. And when you are making short films like that, you're just experimenting. You are finding your voice. You are learning the technical side of filmmaking, editing, sound, pacing.
And that DIY spirit is crucial. They weren't waiting for a studio to call them. They were making Poop Brunch on their own dime.
Exactly. And that industry creates a reel. It creates a body of work that says, I can write, I can act, I can produce, I understand visual storytelling.
And clearly, someone was watching. Because we were about to hit the big break. The year is 2014. Jon Stewart is still at the helm of The Daily Show.
The holy grail of political satire. And they are looking for a new correspondent. Klepper auditions.
And this stat just blew my mind. He debuted on The Daily Show on March 3, 2014. That was only 4 days after his initial audition.
That is unheard of speed in the television industry. Usually the process is glacial. You audition, then you wait by the phone for 2 weeks, then you get a callback, then lawyers talk, then you do a screen test, then the network executives have to weigh in.
4 days is basically immediate. It's instantaneous.
To go from audition to on air in 96 hours suggests he walked into that room and was immediately, undeniably ready. He fit the suit, literally and metaphorically. The producers probably looked at each other and just said, where has this guy been? He speaks our language perfectly.
He must have crushed it. And the reception was good right away. The sources say he received consistently positive reviews. He wasn't one of those correspondents that took a year to find his voice. He arrived fully formed.
He was so trusted that in October 2016, when Trevor Noah, who had taken over by then, was sick, Klepper filled in as host. That is a massive vote of confidence from the network.
Oh, yeah.
It's them saying, we trust you with the franchise. We trust you to carry the entire show.
It really is. And clearly, Comedy Central saw him as a star player because in April 2017, they announced that Klepper's getting his own show.
This was the era of the opposition with Jordan Klepper.
Right. It premiered in September 2017. And for listeners who might not remember, this was a very specific concept. He wasn't just doing The Daily Show 2.0. He was playing a character.
Yes, he was adopting a persona of a fringe, conspiracy-minded media pundit. He was satirizing figures like Alex Jones or the more extreme voices on cable news. It was a high-concept satire.
He was holding up a mirror to the insanity by becoming the insanity. He was yelling, he was slamming papers on the desk, he was connecting dots that just didn't exist.
Exactly. It requires a very, very high level of commitment. You can't wink at the camera. You have to stay in character. He was exploring the quote-unquote logic of the illogical.
He also produced a special around this time called Jordan Klepper Solves Guns, which premiered in June 2017, which again shows his willingness to tackle the most volatile, difficult topics in American culture. He was not playing it safe.
The opposition was a bold swing. It was trying to deconstruct the alt-right media ecosystem from the inside out.
But the opposition didn't last forever. It was canceled in June 2018. It ran for less than a year.
And this is a critical moment in any creative career, the cancellation. It can be a career ender. You get your shot, it doesn't stick, and you fade away. People stop calling, the industry moves on to the next shiny thing.
It's the moment where so many comedians go back to the clubs and just get bitter. They start talking about how the system is rigged or nobody gets my genius. But Klepper didn't fade away. This is the pivot section of our outline. What did he do next?
He launched a docuseries simply titled Klepper in 2019. This was a shift. It was less about the studio audience in the suit and more about being out in the world, engaging with activism and issues on a deeper level. It showed he wasn't just a joke machine, he was a storyteller.
It felt more personal. It felt like he was shedding the character of the opposition and trying to find out what he actually thought about things.
Exactly. And then, ultimately, he returned home. In December 2019, he goes back to The Daily Show.
First as a contributor, and then eventually as a rotating host.
I think that trajectory is just so interesting. Correspondent, to host of his own show, to canceled, to docuseries, and then back to correspondent.
Talk to me about that. Is that a step back? A lot of people would see that as a demotion.
I don't think so at all. I think it demonstrates remarkable resilience and adaptability. In an industry that so often punishes quote-unquote failure, he proved that the vehicle matters less than the voice. Whether he is hosting the opposition or doing a field piece for The Daily Show, the audience wants to hear what he has to say. He realized his strength might not be behind a desk playing a character, but out in the field, reacting to reality.
He swallowed his ego. He could have said, I was a host, I'm not going back to being a correspondent. But he went back to the work.
And thank goodness he did, because his return unleashed the Fingers the Pulse era.
This is undoubtedly his signature work.
Yeah.
Jordan Klepper Fingers the Pulse became a viral phenomenon.
It absolutely did.
It's the segment where he goes to political rallies, protests, and events, often at Trump rallies, and just interviews the attendees. And we have to highlight the success here. The source material mentions a major win. In 2025, he won an Emmy.
Yes, specifically, outstanding writing for a nonfiction program for the special The Daily Show presents. Jordan Klepper, Fingers the Pulse. Brigade, The Next Generation.
And he was nominated for Outstanding Hosted Nonfiction Series or special for the same project. So the industry recognized that this wasn't just comedy. It was high-quality nonfiction writing.
That distinction, nonfiction writing, is so key. It validates the form. It says that this man-on-the-street interview style, when done at this level, is a legitimate form of journalism and storytelling. He's taking the chaotic data points of a political movement, the slogans, the contradictions, the fervor, and he's organizing them into a narrative that is both funny and deeply revealing. He's making sense of the nonsense.
It brings us right back to the math major. He's taking a data set that makes no sense, and he's writing an equation that solves it.
Or at least an equation that shows why it doesn't solve, which is maybe even more important.
But he's not just sticking to his lane. He also launched a podcast called Kasich and Klepper.
With John Kasich, the former Republican governor of Ohio.
Talk about an odd couple. You've got the Daily Show satirist and the former Republican presidential candidate. Why do that? Why would Klepper want to talk to Kasich?
I think it represents his genuine interest in dialogue. We see him battling people in his field pieces, but this podcast showed he's interested in actually sitting down across the aisle and having a sustained conversation. It adds so much depth to his persona. He's not just mocking, he's engaging. He wants to know why people think the way they do. He wants to see if there's any common ground left in America.
It's the mock trial kid again. He wants to understand the opposition's case so thoroughly that he can debate it respectfully.
And then, just to show he can do anything, the source mentions a voice acting pivot. From 2021 to 2024, he was on a Disney Channel show.
The Ghost and Molly McGee.
He voiced Pete McGee, the father.
Which is just a delightful contrast. I mean, you spend your day analyzing the breakdown of American political discourse, watching footage of insurrections, and then you go into a booth and play a wholesome dad for Disney.
It shows incredible range. It shows he's a working actor, not just a political commentator.
And it probably helps keep him sane, right?
Yeah.
You need a break from the deep state conspiracies sometimes. Sometimes you just want to talk to a ghost about chores.
Absolutely. It protects him from being pigeonholed. He's an entertainer first, and the medium can change.
Okay, let's unpack the persona a bit more. We've looked at the career, but what makes Jordan Klepper work? The source lists his genres as satire, improvisational comedy, blue comedy, sarcasm, sketch comedy, and surreal humor.
That's a wide net, but surreal humor is a really interesting tag because usually surreal humor means things like, Salvador Dali or Monty Python, weird dreamlike stuff. But in Klepper's case, reality itself has become surreal, and he is often just holding a mirror up to it.
Can you explain that? What do you mean?
Sure, when someone at a rally tells him that a dead president is coming back to life to run as vice president, that is a surreal statement.
Yeah.
It's dream logic. Klepper's reaction, that deadpan stare, the long silence, is the only rational response to a surreal situation. He grounds the surrealism, which makes it even funnier and more terrifying.
And blue comedy usually implies cursing or adult themes.
Which, given the environments he is in, is often necessary. He's reacting to raw, unfiltered anger a lot of the time. He speaks the language of the street, literally.
Who does he look up to? The sources list his influences.
He cites Trevor Noah, Stephen Colbert, and Jon Stewart.
The holy trinity of The Daily Show.
Exactly. And he has the very unique distinction of having worked directly with or under all three of them.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. He started under Jon Stewart. He worked for Trevor Noah. And Stephen Colbert is obviously the template for that character work he did on The Opposition.
He's absorbed the DNA of all three. He has Stewart's righteous indignation, that sense that this is wrong and I have to say something. He has Colbert's commitment to character and irony, the ability to keep a straight face while saying something absurd, and he has Noah's outsider perspective, though in Klepper's case, the outsider perspective is flipped.
Oh, so what do you mean by flipped?
Well, Trevor Noah was South African, so he was literally an outsider looking at America, wondering why we do things this way. Klepper is the ultimate insider. He's a tall, white guy from the Midwest. He looks like the people he is interviewing.
That is a really sharp observation. He looks like he belongs at the rally.
Which is why they talk to him. He doesn't look like a liberal elite threat in their eyes, at least not initially. He looks like he could be their nephew or their neighbor. He looks like a guy you'd meet at a hardware store. That is his superpower. He disarms people with his appearance, that Midwestern nice vibe, and then hits them with the logic trap.
It's a Trojan horse strategy. I look like you, I talk like you, but I'm going to ask you questions that are going to make you very uncomfortable.
Exactly. If he looked different, or if he came in with a hostile energy, the walls would go up immediately. But because he approaches with this air of curiosity, even if it's feigned curiosity, people open up. They reveal themselves.
And speaking of Midwestern nice, we should just touch on his personal life. He's been married to Laura Gray since 2013. They have one child.
And despite being a major TV personality living in New York, he seems to maintain a very grounded existence. The sources don't mention scandals. They don't mention high-profile feuds or drama. He lives in the world of political commentary, but seems to keep his roots.
He's not in the tabloids. He's not getting arrested. He's just doing the work.
It grounds him. I don't think he could critique the chaos of the world as effectively if he were a chaotic celebrity himself. He needs to be the straight man in every sense of the word. He needs to be the control group in the experiment.
So let's zoom out. What does all of this mean? We've got this kid from Kalamazoo, helped into the world by Tim Allen, who becomes a math and theater nerd, wins nationals in mock trial, grinds in Chicago, and ends up winning an Emmy for dissecting American politics.
When you look at the full picture, Jordan Klepper really represents a very specific evolution in comedy. He isn't just telling jokes. He isn't just doing impressions. He is using the tools of logic, theater, and law to navigate an era of complete information chaos.
The satirical lawyer.
Exactly. In a time when facts themselves are often disputed, the old style of comedy, just pointing and laughing, it might not be enough anymore. Klepper's approach is to enter the argument, accept the premise for a moment, and then show why the math doesn't add up. It's a more rigorous form of satire. It's satire that requires proof.
And his career path, the pivots, the cancellations, the reinventions, it just shows that you have to be adaptable. You can't just have one trick in this business.
He went from improv to hosting to field work to voice acting. He follows the work and he follows his curiosity. He doesn't let the industry define him.
It's inspiring stuff. I am still stuck on the Stephen Yeun thing, honestly.
This is a great piece of trivia. It's one of those facts that makes you wonder how many other connections like that exist in the world. You know, how many careers were launched because someone saw some college improv show on a Tuesday night?
But I think the bigger takeaway for me is that preparation matters. Those years in mock trial, those years studying math, they weren't wasted time. They were the foundation for everything he does now.
Absolutely. Nothing is wasted. The Friday night tailgate gig wasn't wasted. It was training. Poop brunch wasn't wasted. It was training.
But Prince was definitely training.
Essential training, I'm sure.
Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive.
Yeah.
We have gone from Kalamazoo to the chaos of the Capitol.
A fascinating journey. It really was.
Here's a final thought for you to chew on, listeners. We've talked a lot about Klepper's background in math and mock trial. In an age where emotional arguments so often drown out facts, does Jordan Klepper represent a new, necessary breed of comedian? Is the satirical lawyer the only effective archetype left for truth-telling? And is comedy now, maybe, the most effective court of public opinion?
Something to think about. When the news feels like a joke, maybe the comedian is the only one telling the truth.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Stay curious.